She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hey, are you of that, kind of person that thinks that children are not supposed to do chores? Are you of that movement that has shown up on social media that says, let kids be kids? Hey, listen, if you are, I totally respect that. I really do. I know it didn't sound like I just respect that, because there really is two different views. Well, there probably is many views, but we want to talk about these two different views. Should children have chores? Should they not have chores? What's the benefit of it? What's the detriment of it? Is there a detriment of it? Hey, growing up, I love this because as we asked our audience this question, do you believe in that? In fact, let me read you the question. What do you think about kids and chores? Do you have chores? Did you have chores growing up? What has worked in your family? It's a question that we asked on Facebook. And by the way, if you haven't come over to Facebook to say hello, when am I going to see you? Okay? How am I going to know that you're there unless you are coming over and saying hello? I want to see your beautiful profile picture, either on Instagram, Twitter, even YouTube and Facebook. So however way that you are watching today's show, whether it's on television or on social media or YouTube or on our website, DaniJohnson.com, I want to hear your voice. I want to hear you. I want to hear your response. So even right now, as I'm asking you this question, please type in the comments right now. Did you have chores growing up? Do you believe in kids having chores? Or are you of the movement of let kids be kids? We don't believe that they should have any chores at all. So let's look at both sides of this, okay? I did read a couple of the comments, and a couple of the women said, man, chores? Nope, it was slave labor. I had to work my butt off for my parents, and I didn't get paid anything. That was the same for me. It really was. We had chores, tried cleaning the whole house. Mind you, my mom was handicapped, right? And obviously she was not able to do everything herself. And then my dad, who I thought was my dad when I found out I was 17 and a half that he wasn't, he was militant. He was militant on the house being clean, insane. And every night after dinner, us three girls had to get in there and scour that kitchen, not just clean the kitchen, not just do the dishes. There couldn't be crumbs anywhere. The floors had to be swept, nearly mopped. Do you know what I mean? Everything had to be glistening every day, all day, which is really hilarious because the man was a drug addict. So he sat around and smoked weed all day long. And, depending on which season, snorted lines of cocaine, popped 90 pills a day. I watched this man drool, but he was militant on the cleaning. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that was a gift, man. That was a gift. Okay, if you come to my house, even when we were in a camper for a little bit, while our house that we lived in for 8 years had sold and the house that we were building wasn't finished yet. So we had almost 2 months in a camper and all of our belongings inside of our metal building on our property. And it was 105 several times inside of that metal building, but everything we had was in there. So everything was just in disarray. Even that we kept clean. Even that, right? that where we set up our little mock kitchen in the 105-degree metal building. Could you imagine cooking in that? I felt like my insides were baking, literally baking. So anyway, even that stuff is kept clean. The floor, even though it's concrete and there's dust everywhere and everything's open and have you ever been to Texas? Huge wasps. Huge wasps, huge hornets, of which a hornet built a nest in the shop right by where my son was sleeping in this shop. But anyway, bottom line, clean. I didn't realize until a couple years ago that was such a gift. Now, at the time, I hated him for it. But at least he wasn't one of those guys that didn't join in and help, right? He taught me and my sisters how to clean. He taught us how to be diligent. He taught us how to do it with excellence. Now, mind you, inside of my heart, I was like, you're such a jerk, I can't stand you. And that's the clean version of what was going on inside of my heart. But that's what was going on essentially in my heart. Man, I'm grateful. Because I don't have to think about keeping my house clean. I don't have to think about that after we've eaten that we clean up. I don't have to think about, the towel not landing on the floor. You take a shower, you do your thing and you hang up the towel. I've never had to think about or train myself to put clothes in a hamper from my body to the hamper. Just have never had to think about that. Didn't have to think about, should I change the sheets? Like, when did I change them last? I've just never had to think about that. Like, it's just, even though he was abusive, verbally, sexually, physically, emotionally, mentally, he taught me some great things, like diligence and excellence. And it was chores is what the tool that was used, the toilet was the tool that was used to teach me diligence and excellence. The kitchen counters was the tool that was used to teach me diligence and excellence. Diligence and excellence leads to success, friend. I'm sorry to tell you the truth. I know that is not popular. You just want to hear that you can be lazy and do nothing and get rich. I'm so sorry to tell you that's not how that works. In most cases, that's not how it works. The floors, vacuuming the floors, was used as a tool to teach me excellence and diligence, to teach me a routine, because this happened, like the deep cleaning happened every Saturday. Like every single week, deep cleaning happened. Taking the toothpaste out of the sink, rather than leaving a big blob of your Crest Blue Gel toothpaste in the sink when you were a kid with stars in it. No, like every day, like we were taught the diligence, the excellence, and the maintenance of things. So I'm blessed because I was trained to be that way. Therefore, my family has grown up in a home that is clean, that is maintained very, very well. The maintenance of dinner every single night on the table, that kind of, those chores of helping, we always had to help clean. He always cooked. I'm super grateful for that because good maintenance, diligence, and excellence formed me for being a wife, a mom, and a business owner, and a child of the Most High God, being able to do great things in the world, like helping the poor, diligence, excellence, and maintenance. And so you might be thinking that, let kids be kids. Well, I have a question for you if that's your mindset. When are they going to learn how to pick up after themselves? So this is really important to me. I really want to know. Can you tell me? I want you to write in the comments right now. Like, can you tell me? Now, do I think that I should have been threatened and screamed at to clean? No. That the method was wrong. The lessons were right. What I was learning was right. That was the right thing to do, especially knowing I would be a wife and a mother one day. I'll perhaps be working in the workplace one day. So I have to tell you the story because it's really funny. Years ago, about, many, many years ago, when my kids were young and in school, and Grooming the Next Generation for Success, a very powerful best-selling book that's gone all over the world. It's been taught in universities all over the world. Still to this day, I run into people who are learning from that book in their sociology class. And anyway, so one of my son's friends, his mother, had gotten wind somehow through the grapevine that I was an author, and she went to Walmart and she got a hold of Grooming the Next Generation for Success, got the book. And we happened to be at a field trip together. And she's a cute little short thing. She's married to a doctor. And she comes up to me and she says, Dani, your book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, has changed my whole life. And I said, wow, okay, first of all, like, how did you hear about the book? And blah, blah, blah. Like, I was totally embarrassed, first of all. It's always embarrassing to me when somebody comes to me and says something like that. But anyway, so I said, how? Like, what are you talking about? And she says, well, I was starting to do the very same thing that my parents did with me. She goes, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but you and I had totally different childhoods. I said, how so? She goes, well, I grew up in a rich family, a very rich Christian family, grew up in church. I grew up, in Sunday school, and we had maids. And so my mom never cooked. We never learned how to cook. We had maids every day that picked up after us. We never had any chores. We had other people like taking care of us all the time. And so, that kind of set me up for not some great things when I got married. I said, really? So she's chuckling as she's saying this. She goes, yeah. She goes, I'll never forget. Like, I first get married, And, I just take my clothes off and they're on the floor. I'm taking my pajamas off. They're on the floor and I'm getting dressed. And she goes, and I realized after about a week, I saw a pile of clothes like all over my room. And I realized, well, who's going to pick that up? Well, her husband was doing the same thing. She said, so our house was a disaster. Was an absolute disaster. And then we started to have kids. And Dani, so same food, we ate out a lot. And then I realized, oh wait, we had kids. We probably need to start learning how to prepare some meals, so I started doing that part. But then the dishes were piling up in the sink. And there would be flies and things are starting to smell. And then when we had children and then there were bottles, she goes, I realized oh, I'm the maid. And she realized she did not know how to do any of it. And so here then she had her 3 children and she started to do the same thing to them. She started to be their maid and she did not have them have any responsibility over any of their own things. They didn't have responsibility over their own shoes, their own clothes. They didn't have responsibility over their own toys, their own bed, the making of their bed. She goes, I became the maid and I started doing everything for them. And she said, and then I realized one day when I was reading your book, oh my gosh, I am setting my kids up for the same hell that my parents set me up with. The radical, very blunt, painful lesson that there is not a maid there every day to pick up after you. The kind of fights it caused in my marriage. How I felt as a woman. She said, so your book totally changed my life. Yes, I'm giving my kids chores, but you gave me the words on how to motivate them to do that. You gave me a script inside that book on how to position chores as a way where it actually looks like an amazing thing for them to learn. And she goes, and it also showed me how I am their trainer. And I only have so many years to train them up. And she goes, and the last thing in the world I want to do is train up my son and 2 daughters to be like my husband and I were when we started first in marriage. So if you are the one that says let kids be kids, you're right. They should be kids. And kids are in your presence because they are supposed to learn the very valuable skill sets that they will not learn at school. The very valuable lessons they will not learn, especially in college. The very things that cause people to get a divorce. Yeah, because their parents did not teach them. Yes, people get a divorce over things like cleanliness. They really do. No joke. So this very thing, these kids that are in your home, you're their teacher. You are their guide. You are their personal trainer to personally train and develop them for failure or for success. And so you tell me, have you ever worked with somebody who was a total slob? Have you ever worked with somebody that has no diligence? You can't count on them for anything. They can't hit deadlines. They don't bring excellence to work. Have you ever worked with somebody like that? Tell me, how do you feel about that person? You enjoy that kind of working relationship? Do you like it when they miss deadlines and they throw everybody else off from their deadlines too? Do you like it when their entire existence is a complete pigsty? And you ask for something and the papers are flying and they're trying to find whatever it is that they're trying to find. Oh, I'll get that in a minute. Come on now, tell me. Do you enjoy working in that environment? No, you don't. And you certainly don't enjoy living in it either. And I know there's somebody right now that's going, my gosh, you're talking about my husband. Or the husband's like, oh, she's explaining my wife. It can cause a wedge that can absolutely cause the love between the two of you to slowly, through time, diminish. And the pain of it just gets worse and worse and worse. And where did those kids learn how to be like that? Chances are they learned how to be that in a home. Now listen, just because a kid was raised with the ability to do chores doesn't mean they necessarily choose to do them as an adult, but at some point they do wake up and realize, okay, there's not a maid here. I need to figure this out. So if you think that kids doing chores is not important, you might want to think again. And is it possible that you are actually not being responsible and you're not using that time to be their personal trainer for finance, to be their personal trainer for cleanliness, their personal trainer in communication skills? You're their personal trainer for relationship skills. You are their personal trainer for work habits. You're their personal trainer, training their mind on how they are to see work. And I say this too. I have, where was it? Here, Allison says this. She says they whine and say they'll do it later, or claim that tidying up or putting clothes away makes them feel like Cinderella. They moan and groan and have tantrums or flat out refuse. Then I have to take something like TV or a tablet away. Really tedious. You right, girlfriend. But you have trained your kids that it's okay to whine, murmur, and complain. You have trained your kids that it's okay. And to be honest with you, there should be no TV or a tablet, period, because they haven't earned the right to have it yet. The right to have the TV or the tablet is that they are responsible with what they have already. They cannot enjoy a privilege if they're not being responsible with their own personal responsibilities. And so this is a mind shift. Why? The reward comes after they've been diligent and excellent. And they've proven with the right attitude and getting the stuff done, they've proven that they have earned the responsibility and have the maturity to have the tablet or to have a half an hour with the television. So don't use the television as a thing that you got to take away. No, it's a thing they get if they show that they have the maturity and the responsibility to manage what they already have with their time. Sadly, too many parents use a tablet and a television as a way to babysit and shut up their kids instead of using it for something better. So, I don't know if I've convinced you, but let's do this. A 75-year-old Harvard study found that children who have chores, 75-year-old study, that's a long study. Children who have chores become more independent adults. Chores make kids feel more competent and build confidence, feel like they are a part of a team, and become happier adults. So if you are not their personal trainer and giving them the training and all those aspects deliberately on purpose, preparing them to succeed in life, I promise you are preparing them and teaching and training and grooming them to fail in life, to fail in their future marriage, to fail at work, to fail financially, to fail emotionally, spiritually. Yes, you're teaching them to fail if you are not deliberately training them up to succeed with a purpose. And so I think that some parents, I've seen it. Personally, with my own eyes, I've seen some parents that they use their children to do the chores that they don't personally want to do. I've seen the lazy moms have their kids and it's like slave labor. And that's wrong and it's sad and it's totally disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But I have also seen the mothers who have ran themselves ragged, being everyone's maid, and then she becomes the martyr. Oh, I have so much to do. That she's trying to earn love from her kids by not giving them chores. Disgusting. And the wrong reason. You're their personal trainer. What will they have to take care of in their life once they leave your nest? You want to make sure they're fully prepared. You do not want to set them up for failure. All right. Hey, I don't know if you would like to get your hands on the copy of Grooming the Next Generation for Success. You can go to DaniJohnson.com. There's scripts in here. If you're having a hard time butting heads with your kid, there's literally scripts in here that completely disarm them and you. Bring more peace into the house. Have some harmony. You know what harmony is? It's like, yes. Like everything just comes together and it's like, yes. The kind of harmony that just makes you be brought to tears with how much easier your life is going to be rather than you stressing them out, them stressing you out. You're also going to discover that there's 3 things that you could be doing on a daily basis that is provoking the worst out in your children, the worst in them. And what it's training them for is really bad relationship habits in their future. And their future divorce, that just might be on your head. So anyway, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, and you don't want to lead your kid to financial failure or marital failure, do you? No. So go get Grooming the Next Generation for Success. It's on the website, DaniJohnson.com, DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy, start reading it right away, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're using it and the difference that it's making. So that's it for us today. This is Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.